Climate change is happening now, and it's the most serious threat to life on our planet. Human beings have been polluting our planet for centuries now. It's only recently that we discovered the true cost that must be paid for the technological advancement of the Industrial Revolution. Fossil fuels include coal, oil, and gas, and the more that are extracted and burned, the worse climate change will get. Many countries are trying to move their economies away from fossil fuels as soon as possible. Still, over the past few years, clean technologies and government initiatives have seen humans improve climate change in some pretty significant ways. What are some ways that humans have improved climate change? Until now, technology has always been humanity's downfall when it comes to pollution. Our forebears created transportation and manufacturing methods that have wreaked havoc on the climate. But believe it or not, technological advancements in renewable energy in recent years have started to see widespread adoption of those renewable technologies. Part of that is due to the spread of information about the dangers of climate change, and the other part is due to governmental intervention. The Paris Agreement is key in mitigating emissions. The Paris Agreement, which has been signed by nearly every nation on Earth, creates a framework for mitigation of and adaptation to climate change. The Paris Agreement was signed in 2015, and all key legislation for implementing the document's imperatives was adopted in 2018. According to the European Commission, the current goal is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by at least 40% by 2030. Currently, many countries are on track to meeting some of the document's goals, but some straggler countries are struggling to enact true change. Mass adoption of renewable energy will improve the climate and possibly our culture. Renewable resources like solar, wind, and geothermal power have a far lower environmental impact than gas, oil, or petroleum products. There are no emissions, so no new greenhouse gases are sent up into the atmosphere. Not only does mass adoption of renewable energy have the potential to improve climate change, but it could also be the key to a prosperous future for humanity as well. The adoption of renewable resources could foster economic development by creating jobs, strengthen rural development through diversifying operations, and secure energy independence by allowing nations to be more self-reliant and less dependent on dwindling resources of fossil fuels. Some governments have made huge commitments to renewable energy. According to Climate Council, several countries have already seen the benefits of shifting to renewable energy. Sweden, for example, has vowed to eliminate all fossil fuels from electricity generation by 2040. It's an ambitious goal, but the Swedish government has already ramped up its investments in wind energy, solar energy, smart grids, clean transport, and energy storage. In 2018, Germany was able to produce enough electricity through renewable energy to power every household in the country for a year. The German government has also set an ambitious goal by promising to get 65% of the country's electricity from renewables by 2030. According to New Energy Events, Costa Rica has already produced 95% of its electricity from renewable sources for the past 4 years. China is currently one of the world's largest carbon emitters, but the country is already on its way to changing things for the better. China has the largest amount of solar PV and wind capacity installed of any country, and has committed to generating 35% of its electricity from renewables by 2030, while also cleaning up its polluted air. We have made great strides in terms of improving climate change, but we still have a long way to go. As it stands, the logistical, economical, and technical limitations of fixing the problem seem to be standing in the way of affecting it globally. Still, many governments have already begun to understand the severity of the problem and are attempting to work together to solve it. Changing our main energy sources to clean and renewable energy is the best way to stop using fossil fuels. These include technologies like solar, wind, wave, tidal, and geothermal power. Drive a fuel-efficient vehicle. Gas-smart cars, such as hybrids and fully electric vehicles, save fuel and money. And once all cars and light trucks meet 2025's Clean Car Standards, which means averaging 54.5 miles per gallon, they'll be a mainstay. For good reason, relative to a national fleet of vehicles that averaged only 28.3 miles per gallon in 2011, Americans will spend $80 billion less at the pump each year and cut their automotive emissions by half. Restoring carbon-absorbing seagrass. Seagrass provides food and shelter for many marine organisms. They are multifunctional ecosystems and are often referred as nursery habitats because they usually harbor young fish, smaller species of fish and invertebrates. Because they are plants, seagrasses photosynthesize in the same way terrestrial plants do, using sunlight to synthesize nutrients from carbon dioxide and water and releasing oxygen. This means that they are an essential tool in combating climate change, on top of their biological functions. In the last 40 years, the world has lost 1/3 of seagrass meadows due to sustained pressure from coastal development, water quality decline, and of course, climate change. Project Seagrass in the United Kingdom has been working for a decade to reverse that trend. With the help of over 3,000 volunteers, they have been able to plant over 1 million seagrass seeds and create awareness of the importance of these plants. Protect and restore key ecosystems. The natural world is very good at cleaning up our emissions, but we need to look after it. Planting trees in the right places or giving land back to nature through rewilding schemes is a good place to start. This is because photosynthesizing plants draw down carbon dioxide as they grow, locking it away in soils. Respect for nature is fundamental. Governments must protect ecosystems key to the fight against climate change. Rivers, wetlands, oceans, forests, and mangroves absorb large quantities of carbon, slowing warming. Mangroves also serve as a barrier against tropical storms, and wetlands absorb excess water from floods, both extreme weather events exacerbated by climate change. Healing the natural system is the most feasible, realistic, and fair option, since it would benefit humanity and all species. In terms of conservation and restoration, we're in a race against time, and we're already beginning to witness alarming natural phenomena, like forests so degraded they're losing their ability to absorb carbon. Promote green energy. 35% of all global emissions come from energy production. But as countries bet on more development, they're also betting on more energy production. But as countries bet on more development, they're also betting on more energy. While thermoelectric and hydroelectric energies were long considered the cheapest options, technological developments have allowed us to find better, cheaper, more efficient alternatives. With proper long-term planning, nations can avoid old climate-aggravating energy sources and opt for small wind, solar, geothermal, oceanic, and other projects that adapt to a place's unique characteristics. When thinking about energy, it's best to bet on a diversified matrix, prioritizing projects that are close to places where people need energy, saving on losses and infrastructure. We must give absolute priority to the protection of nature. Every action, public policy, or strategy should be analyzed with nature in mind, and the production of energy is a good starting point. Supporting children's participation. Children have already shown their incredible capacity to mobilize for issues they believe in. They shared with us their concerns on the climate crisis. Creating spaces for children's activism has a transformative impact on their lives and has the power to change society for the better. That's all time we have for today's video. Like this video if you found it helpful, and don't forget to press the bell icon so you won't miss any updates.